Hello, it's a short one. I'm on my way up to North Wales, following the A470. I'm on this long winding valley. Just show a quick map, roughly where I am, because I think this looks like the valley that would have been on the way to the Battle of Camlan, which we hear about. Coming up towards Dolgellau, it says Macanthus there, and well, let's see. I'll just this is the road up to Dolgellau. Can't see Camlan on the map itself. Okay, so I'm going to use this footage of the wonderful drive up through the Camlan Pass, or the Bulch, and over towards Dolgellau. I'm going to read from Wilson of Blackett, King of Glamorgan and Gwent, as to what they say about Camlan, why this might be the site, or why they think it is. So page 170 of the Battle of Camlan. The site of the Battle of Camlan has preoccupied many people over many a long year. This was the final fateful battle in which Arthur, the Emperor of Britain, is believed to have been killed. The entry in ancient Welsh annals is far from clear, for it records, quote, "Strife at Camlan, Arthur and Modred fell," close quote. So there was a Battle of Camlan, that is beyond dispute. Now Arthur was there and so was Modred. We do not know if they opposed each other and they were both killed, or if they were on the same side. Modred certainly fell, meaning he was killed. But does the entry mean Battle of Camlan between Arthur and Modred, who was killed? This is not impossible, and it opens up the possibility of Arthur dying elsewhere under different circumstances. It may well be that Arthur died at Camlan, or that he died later of wounds received at Camlan, but this is not certain. Then there is the location of the site of the battle, which for some completely inexplicable reason was arbitrarily fixed at Slaughterhouse on the River Camel Ford in Cornwall, by guesswork in the 16th century. We have the Englishman John Leyland to thank for that catastrophe. First, we know that the King of Cornwall in the Arthurian period was Geraint, or Gerenius, and his predecessor was King Erbin, whose father was King Custennin, or Constantine. That eliminates Arthur from Cornwall. As Cornwall, like Dyfed and Morgannwg, was inhabited by Goodelics, the likelihood of such a struggle is remote, as the whole history of the Welsh denies this. This struggle will be between a swarthy, dark-haired King Arthurius of South Wales and a taller, fair or auburn-haired King of North and Mid Wales. The kings of Gwynedd, Powys and Ceredigion were Brythonic, and they considered themselves of more noble and therefore superior descent than Arthurius of Morgannwg. They claimed their descent from Mascon Ledig, Maxen Maximus, Roman Emperor of the West, and from King Cyneffer, son of Tacitus, son of Paternus, son of Eternus, a line going back into the misty times of the 2nd century. There is proof of this attitude in every written entry in the lands of the Brythonic, where Arthur and his lineage is disparaged and criticised as being inferior in blood. The battle between the two would therefore take place in Wales, and lo and behold, there is a perfect location for such a battle in Wales, and the name of the place is Camlan. Every year, many thousands of tourists drive the winding A470 road from Matloed through to Dolgellau, heading north through the pass of Bulch. Here the valley runs between the two great slab-sided steep mountains, which converge closer and closer together, narrowing the pass. As the valley narrows, so also the floor rises sharply and steeply to a difficult, steep and narrow bottleneck. Here is the absolutely natural and obvious place to block an invader from penetrating to North Wales from the south. This is the natural Welsh Thermopylae. This is also the only way from the south to the fortress of Gwynedd in the north. And unless an invader could force this pass, then he could not enter the north from South Wales. The situation at Camlan is also obvious, that it is incredible that its location can have been for so long mistaken. The map reference on Ordnance Survey Maps 1 to 50,000 series, sheet number 124, is 815-167. Here is a remote place, a vital pass, which has always been named Camlan since time immemorial. Arthur, our Arthurs, Pendragon of Britain, King of Glamorgan, was being challenged by one Mudrad in Latin Metrodorus, and it appears that they both were fatally wounded in the battle. It is recorded as certainty that Mudrad was a nephew of Arthur. He would certainly be able to find many allies in North Wales. This makes the site identification fairly straightforward, as the life story of Maelgwn, King of Gwynedd, will later show. It is sufficient to state here that midway through his extraordinary career, Maelgwn gave up the throne of Gwynedd, North Wales, and entered the church. Then, for some reason, only dimly understood, he suddenly resumed his position as King of Gwynedd. The fact is that Maelgwn returned as King of Gwynedd in 542 AD, when Arthur was defeated. The Modred who died must have been the king who replaced Maelgwn when he decided to abdicate and join the church. There was no struggle when Maelgwn regained his throne, so it must have been vacant. This would fit very well with the King Modred replacing Maelgwn, and then being killed by Arthur in 542 at Camlan, in a titanic civil war. The power of Morgannwg was shattered, as it once again split into 7 small federated kingdoms of Glamorgan, Gwent, Gower, Egynnog, Iwas, Glysoesig, and Brycheiniog, as it always had been before. The larger kingdom of Gwynedd was in the ascendant with Maelgwn back as king, and Arthur incapacitated, and in 546 AD, 4 years after Camlan, King Maelgwn of Gwynedd was elected as King of the Britons in place of Arthur. After this, Morgannwg, or South East Wales, was never again to be united as part of the rest of Wales until the year 1020, some 478 years later, when, for the first time since Arthur, Griffith ap Llywelyn succeeded in making himself Prince of all Wales. For those who doubt this explanation of the battle site, a visit to Camlan in the Avon Cerris Valley will show them a glen, a crooked, winding glen between 2 great slab-like mountains. The valley road goes up along the bottom, pitching steeply up irregular inclines as the floor of the valley rises in a jumble of steep rock, a difficult pass even with a modern metalled road. The word Camlan means crooked glen, and this is exactly what we have at this pass, the vital link between the north and south of Wales. This is the ideal spot where a rebellious Medraud or Modred in the north would seek to stand to oppose the advance of Arthur from the south from Morgannwg. Possibly, if Gen Leyland could have spoken Welsh in 1540, or if he had ever come this way, he would not have made his wild and wrong guess over a river ford site in Cornwall. No Welsh historian says that Arthur was killed at Camlan, none of them, and Camlan means crooked glen and not a river ford, and that is what we have south of Dolgellau, a crooked glen. Finally, the life of St Cadoc gives clear evidence of a war between Maelgwn Gwynedd and the Glamorgan kings, and the sons of Maelgwn raiding Glamorgan. This clearly raises the possibility of Arthur and Modred fighting against Martha and Modred fighting against Maelgwn at Camlan. The civil war was logically won between South Wales and North Wales. The descendants of Brutus and Magnus Maximus in the south were warring with the descendants of Conan and Cyneffa in the north. There is a strange echo of the Battle of Camlan in the Ochra Bwlch Pass. In the ancient books of Wales, the Song of the Graves, this tells of the grave of Arthur's faithful companion Bedwyr, the Sir Bedivere of later romances. Quotes, "The tomb of the son of Osfran is in Camlan, after much slaughter. The tomb of Bedwyr is on the steep of Tryfran." Close quotes. So now we know where Sir Bedivere of legend was buried. Also we know of his relationship to King Arthur, for Arthur is said to have married Osfran's daughter. Osfran, father of Bedwyr, and presumably Guinevere, was a late 5th, early 6th century chieftain. So I hope you enjoyed listening to this passage from Wilson and Blackett. As he drove through the actual pass being referred, and you can see the scenery is exactly as described, with a narrow pass cutting through these great mountains. And if you look on the map and speak to people there, this is the strategic way in and out of the area. This would be the place where a battle would take place. If it was a civil war between two Welsh kingdoms. And maybe Mildred wasn't fighting Arthur. Now there's an interesting thought. So the next time, Edith.
Like a leech. It could conceive your conscience, all this father bitch. But what is the use? Dying like a fool. Would they give me credit, deserve ashes up just to tally up? Buddy, no, 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 never know. This scarlet fever makes me fall. Rest in habitus. See things in jail's brew. Sell me a fago, mister. Let me stay at home. Then I pawned my watch. My pelvis aches and down. Saw too many things. Piece of cheese before the blast had come.